Hi everyone and welcome to this tutorial. In this video we're going to have a look at how you can work with the visual filter widget in a JetSmartFilters plugin. So in this video I'm going to show you how you can create color filters and image filters for different types of content such as WooCommerce product grid, listing grid, and the listing calendar, using different types of data source, taxonomies, posts, and manual input. We're going to start with the taxonomies data source, and I'm going to create an image filter and a color filter for this product grid. Simply put, color filters and image filters are simply the visual representation for the values that you can filter your items by. And now if we choose the taxonomies as the data source, we're going to need to create the taxonomy items to filter our products by. You could use the categories taxonomy, text taxonomy, or attributes, or you can also create the custom taxonomy. So now we go to products, and for now I'm going to use the default taxonomy, which is attributes. And now I want to start adding the colors. So the first visual filter that I want to create is going to be colors, and I want to filter my products by the colors that are present in the particular piece of clothing, because my product grid is comprised of the clothing pieces, so I want to filter them by the color. So in the attributes, I want to start by creating the color attribute, enable it for archives, and click add attribute. And here I'm going to be able to add terms to it, and these terms are going to be the colors that are present in my products. For now, I'm simply giving them names, but in the settings of the visual filter that you're going to be creating later, you're going to be able to add the hex colors, so the user can see the exact color that they are choosing. So when we're done adding colors to the color attribute, now we need to go to our products and assign specific attributes to the products that is going to later help us filter them by the color attribute. So this product is a white shirt. So now we go to attributes, and now here we have the color attribute. It has just appeared, and we open it, and here we have the selection of the terms that we have added to this attribute, and we go with white. And you can either enable or disable this attribute on the product page, but it's not really significant to our filters, so it does not really make any difference, so you can either leave it on or off. And from here, you could also create new values and add them. Just click add new and type in the name of the new item, and it's going to be added to the attributes list. So you can also add the terms from here. But I'm going to delete the red one for now and only have white in my color attribute, and click save. Now I'm going to do the same with the rest of the products that I want to be filtered. And once you have saved the attributes, don't forget to update the product. If you add multiple terms to the same item, it means that this product is going to be shown when the user chooses either of these two options. So once you're done adding these terms to all of your products, in our case those are color attributes, so once you're done, now it is time to create the actual filter. You can access your filter settings if you go to Smart Filters. So first I'm going to show you how to create the color filter for this product grid, and later we're going to see how to create the image filter. So for now we're giving this filter names, and then in the filter type you need to go to the end of the drop-down and choose visual, and select data source. In our case it's taxonomies, since we were editing the product attributes. For now we don't need this option. I'm going to explain to you a little bit later what it means and what purpose it serves. Then in taxonomy, here we have our custom attribute that we have created, which is called product color, and we select this one. And if your taxonomy has a complex hierarchy and there are parent terms and there are child terms, then you're going to have to enable this option to only see the child terms and not to see the parent items. But in our case we do not need to switch this toggle on. And then in the type we're gonna go with color. We have two types of behavior here, the checkbox and radio. Checkbox allows you to choose multiple items, so choose multiple options, and then the results are gonna add up. And if you choose radio, you're only able to choose one option and show the results for only one option out of your selection. So I'm going to go with the checkbox. for now. And here you can add options. And what we need to do here is to add the label. The label is what is going to be visible in the actual filter on a page when you add it. Then the value you can choose out of the options that are present in your taxonomy, out of the terms that you have added. We cannot see red here, even though I created it, because I haven't used it on my product, so it's not on the list, but all the other ones are here. So let's start with black. And here we can select what color we want to be represented on the page, what color we want to choose as the visual representation for our option, for the color option that we are creating. So then you just proceed adding more and more items. So once you have added all of the options that you need, you can rearrange them. Next thing here is query settings, but for the taxonomies type of data source, we do not need any query settings, but we're later going to use them for the post data source and the manual input data source. Now let's have a look at the process of adding the visual filter to your page. Let's type in visual filter in the Elementor's panel and drop it on the empty section. Here you can select the filter, color filter, and choose the type of the content that we want to filter. In our case, this is JetWooBuilder product grid, and in the apply type, it's Ajax or page reload. It is recommended that you use Ajax. So the filter is applied once the user chooses the option or clicks the apply button, and they do not need to reload the page. Then apply on value change or click on apply button. Value change means that once the user clicks on one of the options, they can see the result instantly. Or if you choose click on apply button, they're going to need to click the apply button to see the result. You can show or hide the apply button, or show or hide the filter label. Then the query ID is the field that is pretty much present in all of the other filter widgets, and it helps you if you use multiple widgets of the same type. Then in the filter options, you can turn on and off showing of the items label. For now, for colors, I'm going to turn them off. And when you work with the images filter, you can choose the size of the image. Next, in the style, here is the types of layout, either vertical or horizontal. Then we can also change the offset. We're going to get back to it. Then the item itself, if we change the border radius, we can make these items here circular, and we can also change the size. Also add the border type. And on the checked items, you can select a different border color, so it is visible which item is checked and which is not. Then there are the typography settings for the item label. And for the label of the filter itself, the settings for the button, and the settings for the grouped filter. And this option allows you to set the space between several filters. So we're pretty much done with the styling settings for this filter here. Now let's go to the preview and see what it looks like. So now if we click one of these options, we're going to see the selection of products that have this particular color attribute that we have added to these options. And since we can select multiple options, we can add more and more colors, and we're going to see more and more products that have this attribute, this particular color attribute added to the product attributes. So this is how you create a color filter for your content. Now it's time to see what settings we have for the image filters. I'm going to use the same set of products, and we're going to create a new attribute. Go to products attributes again, and now it is going to be brand. And I want to insert the images of the logos as images in my filter. And this is what we're going to do. Now let's go and add the terms. So once you're done, there is same process again. You have to go to each product and assign and once you have added attributes to all of your products, it is time to go and create another filter for the images this time. So we go to Smart Filters, add new. Then we name it image filter. In the filter type, it is visual as well. Data source is the same this time. Taxonomy is now product brand that we have created. In the type, it is image. Behavior, let's choose radio this time, just for a change. And in the options list, let's select one of the brands that we have added. Now let's go to the media library to add images. Then let's proceed to add in the next option and the next image. Once you have added all the options that you need, let's publish this filter and try and add it to our product grid. Now let's search for the visual filter. Now we select the image filter. Now this filter for WooBuilder products. And in the style settings, we can change the vertical offset a little bit. And now when the item is checked, we can make the label change its color, so we can see which option is actually selected. Now all of the other settings I want to leave as default. And it looks okay so far, so now let's go to the preview and see the result. And now if we click any of these options, we can see that our elements are being filtered. And since we have chosen the radio type of filter, we can only select one option at a time. Now we're done with creating the image and color filters for our WooCommerce product grid. We used the taxonomist data source, and I have also prepared a couple more examples with other data sources. And the next data source we're going to have a look at is posts. Now I'm going to show you how to create it yourself. I have already pre-made the layout, and I'm going to walk you through the process of creating the filter with this data source. So the first thing that you have to do if you want to use the post data source is to create the post relations. What the post relations is and what are different kinds of post relations that you can apply to your posts is the topic of our other tutorial, and you can check this out if you follow the links in the description. Now let's go to Jet Engine and post relations. So here, this is the post relation that I'm going to use. The two post types involved are the trends post type and the default post type. Now let's see what settings it actually has. And you choose which post type is going to be the parent and which one is going to be the child. So that post type that you choose to be a parent is going to provide the options for your filter. And the child is that post type, the posts of which are going to be filtered, are going to be the items in your listing grid. Because now I'm going to create a filter for a listing grid, not the products. But the same workflow can also be applied to the products, because as you see, you can also select products in here. So the relation type, I have chosen one-to-many. It means that I can apply multiple child posts to one parent. And if you want to learn more about different types of post relations, check out our tutorial on post relations. And these are the meta boxes that allow you to set the specific posts that are going to be related to each other. And I have added them to both the parent page and the child page. And here you update or create your new post relation. Then, to assign specific posts of the child post type to a parent post type, or the other way around, we need to go to the actual posts. I'm going to go to the parent post type right now and select one of these. Click Edit. So, since we have added the post relations meta box to our parent post type, here we see the select posts window here, and we can start typing in the names of the posts, and they're going to be added. So as you see, I have assigned multiple child posts to this parent post, and now we have established the relationship between them. For now, the next thing that we need to do to filter our items using the post relations, we need to go and create the listing item for our post. We can do that if we go to Jet Engine, Listings. So now what we need to do is to create the listing item for the child posts, because the child posts are the ones that we're going to filter. In our case, these were the default posts, so the post type post, and is also selected in here, and you give it a name and you click create listing item. So here I have created the listing item for my child post. using JetEngine and the dynamic widgets that you get within JetEngine. If you want to learn more about creating listing items and later displaying them in the listing grids, check out the corresponding tutorial on our channel. And once we're done creating the listing item, let's go and create the actual grid which we're going to filter. Now I have added the listing grid to a new page. Now let's go and see how to create a filter with the post data source. It is actually not that different from the taxonomies data source. We select posts in here. In this dropdown, you have to select the parent post type. In our case, it was trends. Then in the type, I want it to be image. In the behavior, I'm going to choose a radio, so I can only select one option out of these three. And I have assigned images to each of these three options. So this is what it looks like. And now the last thing that we have to do in order to make this filter work is to go to query settings and set the query variable. In here, we have to fill in the key of the post relation that we have created. In order to find this key, you have to go to JetEngine, post relations, and there it is. This is the meta key that you need to copy right now. And now we're inserting it in here. And now we're pretty much done with creating a filter with posts as the data source. Now, if here on our listing grid, we look for visual filter and we drop it in this section, we select the trends filter, then filter for, now we have to select JetEngine. In the filter options, I want all of the images to be of the same size, even though they have different dimensions. Then later we can change the size and change the border radius. So our image is now in a circle. Then let's add a border like this. So if one of the items is checked, it's going to have this grayish border. Now let's change the layout and make it horizontal. Change the horizontal offset and center it. I also want to change the item label color on the checked state. So now let's see the preview and see how it works. So there we have our listing grid, we have our filter options, and let's choose one of these. Now we see that the filter is working, and now the posts that were assigned to this parent post type, these are the child posts here, and these are the parent post types here. So I hope that you get the idea. If you select one of these parent post types, the child posts that were assigned to this specific parent post type are now being displayed here. And since we have chosen the radio filter type, we can only select one option at a time, one parent post at a time. The next data source type for your filter that I wanted to show you is called manual input. And we're going to look at two types of manual input, and in the second type I'm going to show you how the checkbox meta field works, and we're going to do that for the listing grid and for the listing calendar. So for now, let's work with the same listing grid that we have created for the previous example for the post data source. And for the manual input, the setup that you need to have in order to use the manual input data source for your filter is the meta fields that you create for your post type that you want to filter. I have the listing grid made out of the posts in the default post type, this one. So in order to add a meta field to this post, I need to go to JetEngine, meta boxes, and here I have created this meta field. I've called it seasons. And the meta fields, I have added the title, the name. Later we're going to need this, the name or the ID of this meta field specifically. And in the type, I have chosen text, so we can input the value for each of the posts. So this is pretty much it that I have added in this meta box, and this is how I created it. Then I decided that there are only going to be 4 values present in this meta box across all of my posts. So I went to post, all posts, and I chose one post to edit to start with. So if we scroll down, we see the seasons meta box and the meta field that we have added. Here there is the name or the ID of this meta field repeated. And this is where we manually have to type the value in. So since there are only 4 seasons, I have decided that all across all the posts, I'm going to have only 4 values in my meta fields. It's summer, autumn, winter, and spring. So I have went to all of my other posts and filled this meta field in with one of these 4 values. So this is why it is called manual. You create a meta field that is empty, and you can fill this meta field in with the value that you need, and you choose a different value for every specific post. And you can have as many different values as you like. So now I have only 4, but you might have more, as many as you need. So as you see, my different posts have different values in the season meta field. And once you have filled in all the meta fields for all of the posts that you want to be filtered, now it is time to go and create the actual filter. So here in the data source, you select manual input. The type is whatever. In my case, it is image. It can be either color or image, depending on the purpose of this filter that you are creating. The behavior, this time I'm choosing checkbox. And I am adding options. The thing is that now you do not have the drop down with values. You have to type them in manually, and they have to be the same as those values that you have added in the meta fields to your post. So these are those values that are in your meta fields in your post type that you are filtering. So in my case, it was 4 values in total: summer, autumn, winter, and spring, and here they are, and add the corresponding images. Now the last thing in the settings of the filter that we have to take care of is the query settings. This is when we also have to deal with the query settings. In order for this filter to work, we have to insert the name of the meta field in here. In order to find the name of this meta field, go to the individual post to which you have added this meta field, and here it is. This is what you need. You have to copy it and paste it in the query variable field, and from now on this filter is going to work, and it is gonna give you the options out of these options that you have assigned to your post, and you're going to be able to filter your posts using these options. And you're done. The filter with the manual input data source is pretty much ready. So now we're back to our listing grid, and now I want to change the filter here at the top to manual filter. And now we can see our 4 options in there, and we're going to the preview to see how the filter is working. And since this is the checkbox, we can select multiple options at a time. So it was the manual input data source. For the last example in this video, we're going to finally have a look at what this toggle does in here. Is checkbox meta field. So we're going to have a look at how it works with the manual input, and we're going to test it on the listing calendar. So what I have done in here is created a custom post type. If you need more info about how to create custom post types, check out our another tutorial on creating post types with the Jet Engine, but you need to go to Jet Engine, go to post types. And since I was creating the custom post type from scratch, I could go and add all the meta boxes that I needed. And those were the typical meta fields for the calendar events that you need to add if you want your events to be displayed correctly in the listing calendar, such as date, and then the time, so I can later see at what time the event starts, and then the event type, and this is the value that we're going to be filtering our events by. I gave it a name here, and the type here is checkbox. So I'm simply filling in the values for this checkbox, and I can later select multiple values for every single individual post in my events post type. So I'm adding values here. I have added 3 values. I have created 3 of them: meeting, party, and conference. So these are the values. So later in the post settings, I can select which values I want to assign to each individual post. So now I go to one specific post of the events post type. So now in the settings of one individual post in the events post type, I can check 1 or 2 of these boxes in the checkbox meta field, like this. And then I have to proceed and do the same, check 1 of these boxes in every single post that I want to later appear in the filter results. Then in order to display my events in a listing calendar, I had to create a listing item again. And then I went on and created a new filter. And in the data source, we again have to select manual input and now toggle this option on, is checkbox meta field. What it does is allows you to use checkboxes in your meta fields. So without this option being switched on, this filter is not going to work because there are not the text field in your meta box, but the checkbox meta field. And if you want to use the checkboxes, just toggle this option on and then this filter is going to work. So the type was color, behavior checkbox, and what I have done is added 3 options in here that have the same names as those options in the checkbox in the meta field for the post. So meeting, conference, and party, and I have assigned different colors to each option. Now the last thing that we have to do is to go to query settings, and in the query variable we have to insert the name or the ID, as it is also called, of the meta field. You can see this name if you go to the individual post in that post type that you're filtering, and here you can see this name that you need and you have to copy it and insert it in the query variable. And now this filter is going to work. So now this is the listing calendar. If you want to learn more about listing calendars, how to create them, and how to display them in a similar way, check out another tutorial about listing calendars that you can create with the help of Jet Engine. And this is the filter that I have added. So there it goes. And this filter for you select Jet Calendar. You select Jet Engine Calendar because it's a different type of content and you have to tell this filter that this is the calendar. And if we go to the preview and see how this filter works, so now we can see that all of the items, all of the events are displayed in the calendar. But if we click one of these options, now there are only going to be the events that have this option in the checkbox meta field checked. So all of the meetings. Now let's add to the results also the conference. So this is pretty much how it works. In this video we had a look at how to create different types of filters with different types of data sources and then display the filter options with the help of colors and images, and how to apply them to different types of content such as listing grids, listing calendars, and WooCommerce products. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Thank you so much for watching.